As part of the Switch It Up campaign, we are looking to disrupt conversations all around all aspects of women's health. Obviously, a big part of women's health is the menopause. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Breeda Bermingham. She's the founder of Midlife Women Rock Project and Cafes. So, and you're on a mission, as I've read on your website, Breeda, to disrupt the way that the menopause has been framed for decades, aren't you? So would you mind telling me a little bit about you and about the Midlife Women Rocks Project, please?
Lovely. Yes, I'd be delighted to, Verity. I guess I go back to 2018. I was back in college and I was completing a degree in psychology, and my area of interest were midlife women. So I wanted to look at the research around this time in life, because we're kind of undervalued, I guess, in society. So when I was reviewing the research, I came upon menopause, and what I discovered was that there's a massive injustice in not talking about this time in our lives openly, and the taboo and the silence is the real enemy here. So in digging into the research, what I discovered was that if we could open the conversation, we could actually change the narrative, or we could actually change or start to change the way menopause is framed. Because Professor Sharon McQuaid, back in the 1990s, she wrote about menopause, and she said, yes, it is a crisis, but it's also an opportunity. And what I've seen in the literature and the research papers is that all of the focus to date has been on the crisis part and not enough on the opportunities. But if we could get the crisis managed, and this is what's happening now in the UK, which is wonderful, because more and more women and doctors, dietitians, counselors, yoga, Pilates instructors are coming forward and working in the menopause space, supporting women to manage symptoms in order for them to thrive and to live their best life as they move through the menopause years. So it was that injustice that's motivating me, because I feel there's an awful lot we can do once we bring the conversation out. Yeah. And as Glennon Doyle says in her book on change, we have to uncover in order to recover, because we're looking at decades and decades of silence and shame and stigma. And that's what needs to be uncovered in order for us to navigate this time in life more successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, it's that stigma is so key to breaking down, because, there's still this sort of myth, isn't there, that you're past it once you've been through the change. And actually, I think we said, it can be a really empowering experience. So what do you think we need to do more of? I mean, obviously we've talked about the conversation, but how can we disrupt this conversation and get things changed?
Well, Verity, the way I see it, and I'm looking at the last 2 years, let's say since I attended Meg Matthews' menopause conference in 2019, which was one of the first menopause conferences in the world organised by women for women.
Yeah.
And over the conversation, it's the fact that we're coming into the public domain. Women are coming in and speaking about menopause in the public domain, a domain that was kind of once occupied only by male doctors and professors who were talking about it as a medical condition, not as this transition that is very, very significant to our life. So opening that conversation and realizing that it is very important and that we do need to be educated around this time is pivotal.
Yeah. And with your cafes, how do they work? Tell us a little bit about those.
So I had, in a former life, I'd been a midwife and a public health nurse. So I'd seen the power of breastfeeding support groups and mother and toddler groups. So when I completed my degree, I was looking for a way of getting women together. So initially I went on Facebook and I saw there was a voracious appetite for information. So here locally in Waterford, I opened up the first cafe in June 2019 and invited women to attend. We had 17 or 18 women on that first day. And I knew from then the impact that openly talking about this time was going to have on women. And as a result of that, then I ran the cafes monthly until COVID, and we're now on Zoom. And what's really interesting, Verity, is going on Zoom, then I've got women coming from all over Ireland, the UK and Scotland have actually joined in the last few months. And they're free to attend. They're 2 hours long, available over Zoom. And basically we're talking to each other. I present some slides and provide some information. And as I mentioned when I was speaking to you the last time, I also look at and I provide information around the positives in this time in life. And so many women have come to me and said to me, they've never heard one positive word around menopause.
So on that then, what are some of the positives that you could share with us?
Okay, let's say again, from my own research, I see that it's like a time of new opportunities. I see it as second chances. Margaret Mead, the anthropologist, she talks about this time of second chances. It's post our fertile years. Why women are in the world. You know, we're fertile for so many years, but there are no templates out there for after or post fertility. And that's part of the problem, I think. So running events like this and kind of focusing on midlife and what we have to offer is going to be transformative and life-changing for women. So second chances, this access to kind of a deep creative power. I mean, I'm constantly meeting women who have managed their symptoms, and they're moving through those years, and they're deciding to start new businesses. They're changing careers. They're maybe going for promotion, which they wouldn't have 5 years ago. They've developed this power and more confidence that comes. Now, early perimenopause, our confidence drops. That's very normal, and for women to understand that. But as we move through the years, our confidence rises, and courage and bravery, you know, that they all are available to us. And this kick-ass attitude that women talk about, which is wonderful. Again, you know, as we transition through these years, get help with the symptoms. That's key. But you see, what's happened up until recent years is that women have no idea where to go for the help. Doctors haven't really been fully educated around, let's say, hormone replacement therapy and the different lifestyle changes. So once all of that is now being put in place, women will be able to access these positives that are there for us.
And I love that, because I think through all the research that I've been doing and a lot of the people that I've spoken to, you know, it does sound like a pretty horrendous thing for a lot of women to go through. And I know sort of 80% of women are impacted quite significantly, aren't they, through perimenopause, and 20% kind of sail through it. But that's a huge proportion. And like I say, through the research that I've been doing, I've been getting a little bit more scared and daunted by the whole prospect. So it's really lovely to hear that there is this other side to it, and the positives, and to understand how we can manage, you know, that transition is so important. So I love the work that you're doing in that space. It sounds brilliant. I'm going to have to come to one of your cafes, I think.
You're very welcome. Verity, the other thing is, let's say, with statistics, 80% of us have symptoms, 20% apparently sail through. I've yet to meet one of those 20%. And then between 20 and 25% really need the help, and they need, medical help.
Right,
but
okay.
A huge percentage of us kind of navigate by tapping in, kind of using our intuition in a lot of ways, and managing it. But the key is education. Key is understanding we are perimenopausal. I didn't know I was perimenopausal when I was in perimenopause, but
and that's exactly, you know, I'm sort of going, I might be, I might not be at my age, and understanding the symptoms. And I think when we first spoke, I said to you, you know, I watched the Davina McCall documentary that was aired over here in England, and I got more questions than I did answers from it, because I was so ill-educated. And I still, you know, I'm finding out more and more as the days go on, but you're right, education is absolutely key. So if there were any sort of key resources that you would point women to, could you share those with us?
Yes, I mean, let's say there's some brilliant books. My favorite book, the book I recommend to all my women, is Meg Matthews' book, The New Hot, because it's written for everyday women and it's very relatable. I found when I read it. Dr. Louise Newson has a really good book. It's a small book, but it covers HRT for women who need information around HRT. And there are some brilliant websites out there as well for women. Let's say
yours
again,
being one of them.
Yeah, Midlife Women Rock Project. You can look up. There's lots of free information on it there. Meg Matthews one. Louise Newson has brilliant podcasts on her website as well. Sam Palmer, she's a fitness and movement coach. She's really good on menopause. Sam Palmer Fitness. And then Nigel Denby, he's the menopause nutrition. And lots of women love Nigel. He does a lot around food, because if you're gaining weight, which was one of my symptoms, it's about monitoring cortisol and insulin. It has really got very little to do with progesterone and estrogen. So taking HRTs is not going to help you lose weight.
Right.
And a lot of women, don't understand that. You know, if it's the weight, like for me, it was all about the cortisol. My cortisol levels were obviously very imbalanced when I was in perimenopause. And that's where working maybe with a dietitian, doing a 6-week course or something can be very beneficial.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I didn't realise that. Again, like I say, there's all these things that we need to be educated on that can help us. So it's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you today, Breeda. And I know you're going to join us for our Switch It Up event, where we'll go into a bit more detail around the menopause and all the things that you've uncovered with your research and how you work today. But thank you so much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you.